Damn, you just swore on the live. That's crazy.
Man, family show. We're a family show.
It's episode 16, right?
Oh, episode 16.
All right, welcome back to Eagles Weekly, home of your 7-5 Pinstripe Bowl bound Boston College Eagles. I'm one of your hosts, Brett Ryder, joined today by international marketing guru Mac Hutchinson, the man himself, and our ACC athlete Jack Cyberlick. Boys, how we doing?
We're going bowling. Doing good.
Bowling, baby. In New York. Back to New York.
I think that's probably the best case scenario in terms of like all the bowls that at least were kind of on the table for them. Bowl matchup. I'd say that's got to be one of the better ones.
For fans, especially. I feel like, we have so much alumni there. And then it's cool that Nebraska's got like a good travel team too. So like you're going to have a packed stadium. I hope that the stadium logistics people figured out their game, because I watched that Notre Dame game that was at and apparently people had a tough time getting in, and I assume it's gonna be just as many people for this game, so hopefully they can figure that stuff out. But definitely looking forward to this game, and it's great for fans.
Yeah, it's close and it's against a big name school, but that's not super. They're 6-6, but Nebraska's a big brand.
Right.
So I think it's pretty close to best case scenario for a 7-5, BC team that seems to be getting hot at the right time. So I think, the fan base is rightfully excited for this one. So should looking forward to making a trip down.
For sure. And Jack, I know you just got back from New York, so you should have plenty of familiarity with heading on.
I know. I feel like now I'm just visiting Boston instead of visiting New York. But, it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
I know we're like Boston and Jack, you're a Philly guy, but dude, New York City's awesome. I used to live there.
Yeah,
it's a great city, and for fans that don't live there, it's just a great trip. So I definitely highly suggest going. Great city. It's gonna be around like New Year's too. You could like make a whole vacation out of it, to be honest, or even go there for Christmas. Really, it's such a great city in the holiday too. So just looking forward to that. That's going to be great. I love New York.
While I was there last week, I was actually at a BC alumni event. It's just kind of a cocktail party, and it was actually I talked to some people about the bowl there. They all seem pretty excited about it. So I think there should be a good Boston College contingent in and around New York City going. So
is that was that the event you said that people recognized you at?
No one recognized me here. It was in a dark basement, so I get it, No, I'm kidding. No, I didn't talk about the pot with anybody. Just talked about the bowl. Everyone seemed laser focused on the Pinstripe Bowl. So
it's a good one too. I mean, it'd be nice to win one for a change. I think this is our third time playing in that bowl, so I think for BC fans, it'll be exciting to see if we can, finally exercise the demons at Yankee Stadium and, take that one home.
What's cool about this too is it's actually Bill O'Brien's first bowl game as a head coach, which is cool. And then
really,
I just found that out too. And then
because they had the sanctions his first year.
Right. They couldn't go to any postseason. Exactly. And then just like I know, obviously, bowl games, especially with the playoff now, people kind of like look down at bowl games. Like it's like you have like roster and with turnover with the NIL and the transfer portal. Like it's not like your full team. Like we're going to talk about this later in the show, but like a lot of teams on BC might not be there. A lot of people on Nebraska definitely won't be on the team, for this game. So like people like can kind of post game always say, hey, like that's great if you win, or like it's not a big deal if you lose, but honestly, from the BC perspective, any chance you can go 8 wins, for the first time in 15 years. I mean, this is huge. So, like, I really don't buy into this. Oh, like it's not a big deal. Like, this is a freaking big deal for Boston College. Going fully into the full off season with 8 wins. I think, like, you're definitely not. I don't think it makes sense to like say, hey, like, not a big deal. Especially if Donovan doesn't play and all this stuff. No, you have a chance to get to 8 wins we have, as fans haven't seen that. Some fans may haven't ever seen that. So huge deal, be able to do that in the Bronx, in front of all the alumni in New York.
I think it's interesting too, especially when you talk about the 8 wins. Where 2 weeks ago we were kind of talking about it, and I think we kind of all, kind of sided with this idea that it was probably not that likely. It's like a nice thing to aspire towards. But I think we all kind of resided to probably they would win one out of the 2 games to end the season. And, maybe you get the 7th win in the bowl game. And it really didn't seem like a realistic outcome. Whereas, now here, a couple weeks later after a couple wins and, I'd say not a favorable matchup, but a realistic matchup that the 8 wins is kind of right there in the forefront. And, it's, you can't speak enough of just what 8 wins would mean, not only to the season, but to this program and, what it'll mean going forward, being that it's year 1, and Jack's talked about it all year too, right? Like your prediction was what, 6-6 to begin the year. And you were, for all intents and purposes, the closest one.
We didn't go 10-2?
No, couple wins short. But you were the one who was closest to that mark. And I think that, having, a 7-5 season, and to have the potential to win that 8th game, it's huge. It's exceeding, I think a lot of realistic people's expectations. Obviously I'm out of my fucking mind and have no grip on reality. So you really can't take any sort of prediction from me seriously. But I think a lot of people would kind of align with Jack with 6-6, 7-5, and and to be able to kind of beat that and outpace that, I think it's massive.
No, I mean, I think Bill O'Brien, I don't forget if it was in his post-game press conference or where he said it, but he said, there's a huge difference between 6-6 and 7-5 ending the season that way. But there's also a big difference between 8-5 and 7-6 looking ahead of this bowl game. Like if you're going if you're selling, recruits, transfer portal guys, it's a lot easier to sell them on 8 wins than 7 wins, I would think. Especially when you have, good solidified coach, good quarterback play. You have pieces returning. I totally agree with you guys. I think when I predicted 6-6, I said that 6-6 would be a solid first year for Bill. So obviously 7-5 exceeds that, and then if getting that 8th win would be huge. So
it's a great point you make too. When it comes to the recruit talk too, right? It's like 7-6. Okay, we've seen that. But to be able to go to these guys and say that, we can build upon an 8-win season, something that Boston College hasn't done in 15 years, that makes a whole light year worth of difference, as opposed to a 7-6 season.
Yeah, you don't have to argue, like when you're talking to a recruit, like, hey, you don't have to make any argument like the program's in like a good trajectory, Like if you're 8-5, that recruit's knowing, oh, damn, first year head coach, 8-5. We literally have been like when we talk about 6-6, Jack. I think I agreed at the beginning of the year that would be a positive, but we say 6-6 because that's literally been a reality for over a decade. It's 6-6. Remember 6-6 with Adazio. You never got above 7 wins with Jeff Hafley. It was the same thing. So if you're able to do that in your first year, not only for fans, but then to bring that to recruits, like you're saying, Brett, and to, just prove to them, hey, this is what I did in first year with none of my guys, with none of you, potential recruits coming into this program. That's massive for the program. And then, for Bill trying to make that, trying to sales pitch people into this program. Yeah.
It's funny too, to even like take a step back and kind of go back to the Pitt game, right? And you look at the notes here, like Jack, who does a great job, phenomenal job putting this together. And you look at a lot of the kind of the guys that were highlighted from the Pitt game. A lot of them will be back next year. And I think that that's huge too. Grayson James, who, whether there's going to be competition for him, but I think he has really solidified himself as an option at quarterback for this team. And I think if you tell me that Grayson James is the starter next year, I feel pretty good about that. There's no kind of reservations for me. And then, Reed Harris, who's really picked it up and does look like he has the opportunity to be a top option, in this receiving core. The only guy who you're really going to sit back and be like, we're going to lose him and all that production is easy, is Donovan Ezeraku. So even just kind of looking at that and kind of taking a step back and looking at the overall health of the team, it's not as if this is like a senior laden team and, you're going to have to replace a whole bunch of contributors and a whole bunch of production. There's a lot of production that is going to be coming back next year. And I think that, is something that maybe hasn't been highlighted, at least by us yet, but it's a big deal.
You're feeling positive about most of the groups. Like you're really excited about the secondary and how they performed this year. Wide receiver groups, the wideouts look good. The running back group, that's looking solid. O-line, you're gonna lose Ozzy, but the guys have filled in that, and you have significant depth there too. That's been a positive as well. To bring up, Easy is a huge one. Obviously, I think the defensive edges, we're gonna have to pick someone up in the portal. Yeah. But again, shout out to Donovan Ezeraku. He was named ACC Defensive Player of the Year this week. I mean, he honestly might be he is one of the best defensive players and probably should get awarded for a lot of these awards coming up as the best defensive player in the country. And I don't think people understand how dominant. I mean, he's still leading the nation in sacks. And, obviously that's not, you can never replace that. Maybe you can replace that with a couple guys. Obviously you have players around him like Cam Horsley that have stepped up. So maybe you just, you plug and play with a couple other people from the transfer portal or whatever. But I think obviously the defensive edge, that's your biggest concern. But, you again, like you said, Brett, you're feeling real positive about all these other groups. Your big question really is, can we get another defensive edge and can we get a backup quarterback or a quarterback from the transfer portal that can compete with Grayson over the summer? Those are the two main concerns. The rest, you're like, yeah, maybe a little more depth here and there, but you're feeling pretty positive about the groups.
Yeah, I will say about the edge position, Ezeraku to me is kind of the only one that you can't really just plug and play from the portal. That I think
sure,
feel like, I mean, he's ACC Defensive Player of the Year. Like, you're not going to replace that. The same way you're never going to replace Quentin Post, like a 7-footer that can shoot. He's a unique player. But I mean, everyone else, Cameron Arnold's a great linebacker. I feel like we can get another linebacker. Some of the old line positions, I feel like it'll be not easy, but realistic to, plug and play from the portal, from recruiting. Whereas Ezeraku he's gonna be missed. But
oh yeah,
if that's your only, huge cash loss to graduation, then it's a pretty good position to be in heading to a first off season for Bill O'Brien.
Absolutely. What's funny too is I've been throwing around that Ezeraku had 3.5 sacks last year. He had 2. Yeah, and they were both in the UVA game.
Incredible.
I continues to just baffle me how you go from, a sophomore year, he had 7.5 sacks, and it was a pretty good season. I remember a lot of people were talking about him, to have 2 sacks and then to have 6.
Everyone thought he was breaking out too. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. To go
Tim Lewis, maybe Tim Lewis.
2 to 16.5 sacks. That is, I've been trying to wrap my head around that for the last month, and I just can't. Yeah. I don't know. He had to have been hurt or something. There must have been something going on, because he's just been credit to him. He's been a completely different player, and they're not where they are today without him. So
I have a question before because talking about the transfer portal. I did last week I was able to ask Bill about that, and his answer to really like how he's going to kind of act in the transfer portal was very similar to what Hafley said publicly. Like, we're going to develop players, and then we're pretty much, he kind of framed it as like how NFL uses, drafting. Like, we're going to develop our players, and then we're going to use the draft to kind of, plug in places that we need a little more depth in there, which is very kind of what Hafley said. But like Bill kind of responding in a similar way, like, we're going to focus on developing. Like, that's our kind of goal here, and kind of use the transfer portal, as, not really the focus here, but to kind of bring in, help out the roster you already have.
Sure.
What are your guys' initial feelings on that? Just like, it is very similar to what Happy said, but like, do you have a lot? I mean, me personally, I have a lot more faith in Bill being able to pull that off. But just like your kind of reaction to his, talking about the transfer portal.
Chuck, I'll let you go first.
No, I think this speaks to what we were talking about earlier about how important or how huge an 8-win season would be as a selling point for Bill's first year. Because I mean, you also see some of these like from On3 or all these recruiting sites, like, oh, so and so is the like this school and this player have agreed to a $1.5 million deal. It's like free agency basically, which is
right
kind of a daunting thing as a smaller private school that Boston College is when you're competing with big state schools. But I do have a lot of faith in Bill as a recruiter. He's a name. Clearly, he's gotten things done in his first year as head coach here. So I do believe in him as a recruiter to bring in that transfer portal talent. And I think we gave him. He had a short off season last year, just coming in February, late to the game. So I think having we've talked about that first full off season that he's going to have this time around. So I am optimistic about what we're going to look like going forward.
I'm optimistic too, and I think when I look at, I guess, the results of the portal last year and the underwhelming nature of it, like Jaden McGowan just announced that he's going back in the portal. Did I always get his name wrong? Jaron Bradley. Did he announce that he was going back in the portal? Yeah. So I mean, and that's the thing. Like with Hafley, I think Hafley had the idea that he wanted to develop players and kind of stay away from the portal for the most part, and he didn't want to build his team that way. And then obviously at the end of last year, I think he was coaching for his job, and that's why he hit the portal so hard, and the results were pretty underwhelming. So I'm very okay with the idea that Bill O'Brien is really looking to like develop and I mean, the other thing too, especially in new age college football, you got to keep your guys, right? Like, you don't want to develop them and become a feeder for other programs, but to be able to develop them and kind of supplement with the portal is two totally different things. And I think that is, for a school like BC, is the right way to go about it, in my opinion. I mean, you saw today the number one recruit out of Massachusetts, he went to BYU for $7 million.
Yeah.
So it's like it's not recruiting, it's not an interest thing anymore. It's not the brand of the school, it's who's going to pay you, and BYU just paid for $7 million for the number one recruit. That's college sports these days. So I think Bill O'Brien's got it the right way.
I think I completely agree, Brett. I feel like the biggest thing is being able to hold on to your recruits, especially for Boston College, right? Sure. So I think Bill O'Brien's mentality with recruiting and the transfer portal makes sense, because you look at all these other programs that are very transfer portal heavy, and they have guys coming in, but they have guys immediately leaving, right? Because there's no loyalty, there's no culture there for them to stay. And I think Bill O'Brien talking about that, he understands, like, we're selling more than just this, money. We can't offer you $7 million or, out of high school. Like, you're going to come here, develop, understand this culture, and care about your education. That's how you're going to get it done. So that's everything for BC. So I definitely think he's on the right track there. I think he's going to definitely use the portal more in the way where, like, hey, go after like more grad players that have already been developed, plug them in for more depth and things like that. but definitely the mentality of, we're a development program, similar to see what you Clemson. When all this NIL stuff came out and people were really crapping on Dabo Sweeney for how he does his program, but he's as strict as it gets when it comes to just being a development program, and you see their success, and you know how much NIL and transfer portal is right now, and they're in the playoffs. So I think that's more of where he's focused at being, instead of being like the opposite end, which is like Colorado, right?
And I think too, especially when you're talking about Bill O'Brien and like where he's looking to bring this program, I think it'll be a lot easier of a sell to develop these kids and hold on to them when you are talking about a team that's winning 8, 9, potentially 10 games a year, as opposed to maybe like a 6-6, 7-6 team, and you're just trying to hold on to your guys for mediocrity. So I think the winning or the culture that he's looking to build, and I think that all kind of coincides and his vision for it ultimately, and I can definitely appreciate it.
Yeah, winning solves everything, right? Like, I think we look at, and we didn't cover this last time, but I think during our off week, the 2025 football commits came in, and you're looking at this being like, this was Bill O'Brien. He didn't have a full season to recruit, right? He brought in 27 new players. The overall class rank was around like 50, 52. I expect that to be the lowest class rank in his entire, career here at BC, because you're looking at this, he had a short off season. None of these recruits saw the 7-8 win season, in the bag.
Yeah.
Like, winning solves a lot of that. And if you get up to like a consistent 8, 9, 10 win season like Tom O'Brien had, you remember him, he had consistent top 25 recruiting classes like here at Boston College. Like, that's what we're trying to go to. And I think you're going to start seeing that improvement with these commits. And honestly, this class is pretty solid. And,
What's the ranking of this class?
It's around 52 composite rank on 247. But again, 27 recruits. I think they had, mostly 3 stars, pretty much all 3 stars. And they, Bill knew what he was looking for. You're looking for a lot of, talking about defensive linemen, right? I think he got about 3 defensive linemen in this class. He got a punter from Ireland, Andy Quinn, from the NFL Academy. A lot of these players from Massachusetts. And you look at his 2026 recruiting class, I think it's like 4 of the top 5 recruits from Massachusetts are already committed to him. So these are the positive things you see from winning, and then him getting his roots back in Boston College, and starting those relationships back up with all these high school coaches. He mentioned in his previous press conference that he hasn't been able, because of the rules, go on the road yet. So he literally hasn't recruited in person any of his players. Like, for the first time in January, he'll be able to actually get on the road and talk to players. So this class, which is 50th ranked, is like, because he didn't have a full offseason, he wasn't even able to go in person to recruit on these players. So expect what he can do with a full offseason, actually going to meet these players and meet their parents. I think that's like a massive thing that people aren't aware of. So, the recruiting classes going forward look, promising for sure.
Yeah, I'm looking at it now. There's definitely, the offer sheets for a lot of these kids, especially like kind of like the top, more top rated recruits, they do all have good offer sheets, which is what you want.
You just look at the quarterback, Shaker Rising, right? He got offers from Utah that they took from Houston, BYU, Arkansas. He's going to be someone that they're going to be able to develop immediately. You have a bunch of other players that are going to, Griffin Collins is pretty much probably a player ready. He might be able to make an immediate impact. A lot of these players, your potential immediate impact. Bo McCormick, who's like, I think the leader in rushing for the state of Massachusetts, like totally broke that record out of the water this year. He's going to be able to make an immediate impact next year. So you're seeing a lot of good things from. And it really comes down to, do you trust Bill O'Brien's ability to recruit? And you saw that he was able to do that in Penn State. You saw that he was able to, do that throughout his career and be able to assess people's, skill level. So it's like, I trust him a lot more than I do Halfley, especially when it comes to all these position groups. So
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, do you trust Bill? And that's what I mean. The rankings, the stars. I mean, they're at the end of the day, this is Boston College. We can't really care that much about that stuff.
Yeah, looking ahead to the 26th class, it's very early. That's a lot to change, but early on, I mean, it's 20th ranked. A lot of Massachusetts, a lot of New England guys. So I think that does speak to kind of like the wall around New England that Bill wants to build. So
Yep.
yeah. So I totally agree with what you were saying, Mac. How this upcoming 25 class being 52nd ranked is probably going to be on the lower end of classes going forward.
Speaking of the 26 class, there's a quarterback out of California there too.
Yeah, Cornberry. I'm looking at right now.
Yeah,
he's putting up crazy numbers this year. Crazy numbers as a sophomore, I think.
He was offered by Arkansas too.
Yeah, he's one that people are talking about. Worried that he gets on the radar, gets a 4-star, and then it gets a little competitive again. But it seems like he's as far as right now, it's a good relationship with Bill O'Brien right now. So that looks super positive.
Wasn't there a 2025 running back that flipped to Notre Dame, and then became a 4-star? That ring Nolan James.
It happens all the time. Our 3-stars flip, and then they go to
I think there's a way to look that up too. I think you can look up like decommits. Let me see.
That's what's so fishy about those stars, though. It's like the second they get a big name program offer, there's a star, right? It's like
that's such bullshit too, because you're 100% right, Jack. Yeah, Nolan James, he's a 4-star now. And of course, like when they go to like the big name programs, they get bumped up a little bit, just so like they can get like an additional 4-star. It's so trash. So annoying.
Yeah, college football playoffs in recruiting. It's the ranking system is all biased.
That's such bullshit.
Yeah.
Well, whoa. Yeah. That just woke me up. Whose phone is that?
I don't think it's mine. It might be my messages app. I'll try to quiet that down.
That just woke me up. Yeah, I get the text on my MacBook too sometimes.
Yeah. I don't know how to turn that off on mine because I get that too. Just like automatically.
You know what? I just got my Apple Watch back, and so I have like a group chat that's muted on my phone, but it won't mute on the Apple Watch. So I just get notified. I'm like, I don't want to get all of these goddamn notifications, and I don't know how to turn it off. It's so
that's me with the X notifications too from Twitter. It's like sometimes I want to get them, and sometimes I'm like, just stop. Like, you know what I mean? Like, maybe there's a quick fix where you can like turn it off, turn it on really easily.
Yeah,
I haven't figured that one out yet.
That's got to be brutal for you with the 20,000 followers too.
Yeah, because sometimes it's good, but like other times, most of the time, I'm just trying to watch a video and I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Pitt victory. Should we talk about that? That was huge.
I think we have to.
I don't think we can not talk about it, man. That was a great win.
7 wins, man. 7 regular season wins since 2018, I believe, Brett.
It's the first time they won 7 games since 2018, and that's the first time they won the last 2 regular season games since 2017, and that's their first winning record in November since 2013, I think, something like that.
I forget the year for this too, but we went 5-1 at home, which hasn't happened for a long time.
I think it was 6.
Yeah, dude, 5-1. I mean, 1 loss at home.
Yeah,
that's massive too.
And that 1 loss could have been a win. That was the Louisville game, right?
Louisville should have been a win. Yeah, I think like for Grayson James too. I came out of that thinking best performance of the year. I mean, I think he,
keeps getting
better consistently.
He does.
20 for 28. Like Jack put up here, 253 yards, 2 touchdowns. Again, his connection to your boy Reed Harris, Brett. Still buying stock on him. Got Moss.
It's like Bitcoin now.
It's insane, that connection there. He's a clear, like, almost number. I mean, I think Lewis Bond's still the consistent slot, but like as far as like your playmaker, Reed Harris is your number one target. That's just been incredible to see him as basically a freshman out there. And then Franklin had a great game. Morales, so the tight ends did really good. And you know Bill O'Brien with his tight ends. That's huge to see. You saw that with his recruiting class we were just talking about, all those tight ends coming in. He loves those empty formations and using those tight ends in the passing game. So that was fantastic to see. Again, Will Long, he had a little more, I think he didn't have I think he had a perfect game last game, but like this game, he also did really solid. And it's been great to see him expand that playbook up as the season's gone along. And it feels like, Brett, doesn't it feel like those Patriots teams where it's like throughout the season you're like, man, is this team going to be good? And no matter what, at the end they figured it out, during the Bill Belichick era. And it's like that was the team, and it feels like that under Bill O'Brien, where it's like at the end of this year you see how well they're performing, they're consistently getting better. I mean, it's just refreshing to see, to kind of have that and experiencing that with this team. So kudos to all the players. Again, Donovan Azaraku, insane 3.5 sacks, breaking the records for Boston College single season.
Crazy,
unbelievable. And then Ty Clemens, the pick six, that was huge. But
six,
the pick six from the big guy.
What'd you call it, Jack?
The thick six. Big man. Big man taking it back. Love that.
That's so funny.
I didn't see it live. I was pissed. I was still in Italy watching it as late, but
it was probably
it was
4
awesome
in the morning
game.
there.
No, it was a 3:00 game, so I think it was basically 9 to 1 or whatever. It wasn't too late.
That's not too bad.
Yeah, but I mean, I was mostly just checking the score. I couldn't watch it too much, but they never trailed in this game. They never trailed. Nope. I think they went 20-7, and that it seemed like a very stress. I don't know how it was. You guys were there, I'm assuming, but it seems like a relatively stress-free win to close the season. So
kind
of exactly what you want, honestly, for final game of the season.
2 stress-free wins, which was it's a good point by you too. Back-to-back wins. Neither seemed like they were in any sort of danger to lose the game. They kind of start to finish were winning, and it was like execution throughout the game. In this game they didn't start out slow, but as the game went on, they really picked it up and continued to dominate well into the fourth quarter, which that's literally all you can ask for. To be firing on all cylinders at the end of the season, and really this is the team that you signed up to follow. That's literally all you can ask for. Good quarterback play, very good offensive line play, receivers just making plays on the ball. The Reed Harris play was just friggin' incredible. We haven't seen a receiver. And you haven't seen a receiver go up like that, and really just bully the defensive back like that in a long time.
Really, since he did it against UNC the previous week.
Yeah, true. Yeah. True. That. Yeah. Yes.
I think he got the. Did they say that he got the Moss, the Randy Moss got that award?
Yeah.
He got that twice in a row.
Second week in a row.
Yeah.
He sure did.
Super awesome. And you mentioned the O-line too, Brett, and that's been we don't talk about that because I feel like we expect to have a really solid offensive line, but there was definitely questions with people coming into this line. Obviously you lose Mahogany, and that's definitely a part of this offense that improved over the season, but they've been pretty much consistent. You had my guy Jude Bowery, who's plugged in there, and he's been just performing. It's like no one talks about him, but it's like no one talks about the offensive line, but they've just been solid throughout and just protecting Grayson back there, and then also being very consistent with the running game. So when you're looking at that kind of going into the bowl game too. It's like you're feeling super great about the offensive line. You're positive on that, going into next year as well.
It's a nice change of pace. It's a nice vibe change, I think, overall for this team. I think we're so accustomed to kind of like the letdowns and kind of having like a sour taste in our mouths at the end of a season. And, because like I said, they haven't won the last 2 games of the year in 7 seasons. So you're always kind of accustomed to them kind of like stumbling into the finish line or, whatever the case is. So to be able to do that, to very, it's not only big for the program wins wise, but just for the culture too. The culture to be able to play your best football in November and kind of set the precedent for that. I don't think that can be understated.
Winning, when it's almost like weird, right? It's like you're winning at the end, the time when you're supposed to win. Like the last couple of years, you're especially when you look back at like some of those Adagio seasons where you start out with 7-2 and then it's like the opposite. You end. It's like we haven't had this for such a long time. Winning when you're supposed to at the right time towards the end of the season. Again, such a huge, when Bill O'Brien talked about it, I think I talked about this last time on the podcast. It's like every concern we had throughout the year, Bill O'Brien's had every answer to it. In these last 3 games, he's had every answer to that. It's like he talked about development. He talked about playing a full 60-minute game. He talked about it. And it's like those 3 losses in a row, man, like it was painful to like have him, be able to say the same thing over. It's like, we got to get them to learn how to win games. We got them to learn how to play a full game. And it's like, you kept being like, is he serious? Like, is this going to happen? And then boom, 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 boom. The last 3-4 games, he's done it. He's answered that. He shows that he's able to develop and get these players that, have BC talent right now, leftover talent from Hafley, and got them to rise above, and really, play at a high level. And I think for me, that's been refreshing looking towards the future. Bill O'Brien clearly being able to develop players and bring a certain mentality and culture into a program that lacks some of that focus and ability to kind of, win when it matters most.
It's funny too, and I don't want this to be like a segue into basketball talk yet. I do want to talk hoop, but just in terms of, kind of the context of it is like, they basically got shot out of the gym, the night before the Pitt game, and kind of coming into the Pitt game, it's like, is this just the same old BC stuff that, we've grown accustomed to, and they're probably going to lose to Pitt today. So for them to really not exercise, everything that we've been experiencing the last 10 to 15 years was definitely a breath of fresh air. And, it almost made that victory that much more sweeter. And, like I said, we'll get into basketball here in a little bit, but I just felt like that context, unfortunately, needed to be said. So sorry, Jack. I know it probably hurts your heart.
No, man. No. We gotta talk about it. But just to add to that, it's nice to have that winning culture going to the offseason, whatever, but also just in the short term, heading into the bowl game. I mean, last year, they were inexplicably 6-3, lose out to 3 straight, and then like the bowl game was almost like a surprise that they won. Like I remember watching that game at home. I just kept waiting and waiting and waiting for them to slip up and lose, and then I checked the game ends and they won. But so that felt like a total bonus. But going to Nebraska, it's totally different. Like we've been playing our best football last month. Grayson's been getting better and better. So just winning 3 for the last 4, taking that momentum into bowl season, it's just a completely different outlook. Where it's like you're playing a Nebraska team. I think they're 2-point favorites or something. It's basically almost a coin flip. You feel like you can win that 8th game. Winning that 8th game is, it feels attainable. It doesn't feel like beating a random win against SMU to close out the season last year. Like the way we've won the past month, it makes you feel good going to, bowl season. So it's all you can ask for really at this point.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, Jack. Me and Brett were at Fenway last year, and we were pretty much shocked the entire time we were winning that game. We're like, "What is happening?"
Absolutely.
It was a weird game. It was rainy, and it was a ballpark, obviously, but you feel a lot better about this ballpark for sure going into this. And it's just funny because we talked about the expectations throughout the year, and I'm just looking back at like what Boston College was able to do this year. You start out 4-1 in your first 5 games. And then in your first 8 games, you're sitting there at 4-4. It's like you go from like, oh, are we going to go in the playoffs to are we even going to make a bowl game? And then to end on your last 4 games, win 3 of them, to end in 7-5, and then you're going to a bowl game, win 8 games. It's like massive flip. It's like you go up, down, up, and then right now you're thinking, man, the last 4 games showing again, like you said, Jack, the improvement of Grayson throughout, and then the fact that Bill O'Brien gets to have 15 more practices with his team to develop even further. I mean, yeah, of course there's going to be some guys playing. Donovan's probably not going to play in this game, but it's like people have stepped up, consistently, especially towards the end of the season, and especially in the secondary, especially on the defense. You've seen Tim Lewis's defense improve and get even more consistent and more solid throughout the year, especially the last 4 games. So you're coming into this, you're feeling great as a Boston College fan. At the very least, you're going to get 7 wins, and I think more than ever, you're feeling the most confident going to this bowl game. Which, like you said, last year, you're like, it almost felt like a dream to get that win at Fenway, even though they pulled it off. But this one, you're feeling extremely confident and just excited for this opportunity. And go into the offseason with this, this opportunity.
It feels like a opportunity, not like a consolation prize this year.
Yeah,
totally. It's like really nice, actually. I don't really remember the last time it was that was the feeling kind of going around the game, but it's good. And like I said earlier, I think it's a great matchup. I think it's a great bowl game to be in for fans, for the team, for everyone. I think that it would be a great opportunity. And we'll see, and I honestly can't remember the last time that we did have a game where it was like, oh yeah, like we can win this game. The past years we're like, how are we gonna fuck this game up? How much are we gonna lose by? How are we gonna embarrass ourselves on the national stage this year? So
just looking for like a nice competitive game, right? You're like, national television at noon, ABC. I think it's Saturday or Sunday, the game.
Saturday,
right? Saturday noon game. On ABC. All eyes on BC again. Have a good game. That's all you can really ask for. But really feeling good about being able to get 8 wins. I can't again emphasize how huge that is. It's such a bigger deal. I think obviously you can go into it feeling really good. Like, you don't need to win this. You can say it's not a big deal, but I mean, it is a big deal. And it's just like you said, it's not like it's the end of the world if you lose, but it's the fact that it is that opportunity and it's right there. Go and take it,
Absolutely. I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm gonna grab some pizza when I'm out there.
What's your thought?
Yeah.
Jack, do you have you're the current New Yorker, semi New Yorker right now. What's your favorite?
Yeah, I share my time. This is a good place in the Upper East, San Mateo's. It's more of a sit-down pizza restaurant, but it's pretty good.
Okay.
I mean, there's a good slice on every block, no matter where you go. So, looking forward to it. Taking the train north to stadium should be good.
Do you guys drive to New York, or you take the train in?
I'm gonna be home in Philadelphia, so I'll probably take Jersey Transit in, and then So, but
Eagles Weekly will have Eagles Weekly's bringing the girlfriends and the wives of her.
We'll be there. We'll tweet out some nice New York tips, and if you guys want to meet up with us, we'll be around. We'll be in New York City. We'll be in the big city, the Big Apple.
It's gonna be fun. I'm excited. It's gonna be fun. I haven't been to like a BC game yet.
I've never been to a bowl game for BC. Is there gonna be a tailgating situation at a bar or something close by?
I would assume so.
I mean, there has to be, right?
There's some
I would assume so.
They do like a significant amount of like corporate stuff. So like I remember last year at the Fenway Bowl, we had like that presser. Brett, remember the day before, and then they
At
do
the
things.
museum.
And then the Museum of Science, and like I assume they'll do something similar in the probably in Manhattan or something. And then they have like some fan fest stuff. And I know the individual teams, they probably have something for the New York alumni and things like that. So that'll be cool to kind of check out as well. But again, there's like everything's a hit. You can New York City. I would say for me, if you're looking, my favorite slice, if you're training into Penn State or not Penn State to Penn Station, go down into the bottom where the subway is, where everyone's like running around. Rose's Pizza. You can just get like a slice. That's my favorite slice.
Interesting.
That's always been my favorite slice. Every time I'm going to New York or taking the train, I always hit that place.
I've never been to New Yankee Stadium either, and I can't think of a better way to go than when the Yankees are not playing and BC is playing. So
it's a nice
and when they just lost Juan Soto, so
maybe they'll have his jerseys on sale. That would be hilarious.
That would be funny.
That would be so funny, man. Especially to go right across town, baby.
There's so much sports news the last like 24 hours. You have that. You had
nothing good for us though.
The ACC. Actually, this might involve.
Well, the ACC, the playoff selection was good for us. I'd say.
That was very good. Very good.
The latest Boston news, which actually might affect the BC program, but potentially Bill Belichick going to UNC.
True.
That's bananas.
That Bill versus Bill potential ACC championship next year. I'm just calling it right now.
I think that is so stupid of UNC. I'm so, like they're going from old ass Mac Brown to old ass Bill Belichick. Yeah, I just don't get it.
And I honestly don't think Bill Belichick, like, because he wants the NFL, he wants to beat Shula. So like I don't see how that makes sense.
Go to your NFL wins, right? And he's like close.
So what is he? Yeah. So what is he gonna do? Like go to college for 3 to 5 years and come back to the NFL at 8? Like it just I don't see it. Maybe he doesn't care about that record, but I could have sworn that was like his big thing was he wants to catch Shula for the record.
Maybe they guaranteed his girlfriend admission to the freshman class.
Yeah.
Yeah. Young enough to be an undergrad there, right? I think my biggest concern is if that actually is true, is that Bill will definitely take a lot of the supporting staff from O'Brien here at Boston College, because you think if he actually goes there, Burge is gone to UNC, and that could be impactful. But that's kind of the only thing that really stuck out with me for Boston College, But again, it's just wild to me that news was just like no sense. It really doesn't. But, yeah.
And then the Red Sox just don't want to sign anybody, so that's.
Me and Brett have been had texts about the Red Sox.
We had a good talk.
It seems like they're interested in everybody, but they never.
Very interested. Very interested.
Yeah.
So interested. We have everyone flying in from everywhere, and then just
pick a player. They're showing interest. They're coming in second.
Yeah,
fucking unreal.
Yeah, pretty crazy.
Let's take our 5-second Bigelow T ad break. It'll be a little bit longer for the listeners when they actually hear this. And we'll be right back. And we are back. Apparently Haas, who's not here tonight, apparently he met the CEO for Bigelow Tea was at BC last week. I seen on LinkedIn that he was.
We better have sponsorship now then.
That's what I'm a little confused about. So I'm, little concerned. Why wasn't that brought to the table?
Yeah.
That's okay though. That's okay. It's just,
We'll have to have Haas on next time, and it's gonna have to answer for a few things.
Yeah, he can explain. He can explain. We'll give him a chance. I'll give him a chance to explain himself.
It's tea season too. I could use some tea,
Sure could.
Yeah.
Nice soothing, and it's cold season. I've had a cold for a couple of weeks now. I can't seem to shake it either. It's crazy. Every time I take him over it, I hack up half a lung. So that's good.
No fun.
Nothing like Bigelow tea to quiet that down. Who is leaving crazy replies? Oh well. Basketball. So I think so the basketball team, are we ready to deem them not good again?
I was ready to deem them not good again. Probably back in April. But they're fun and
they were fun.
I mean, I watched the so when the Cayman Islands tournament was going on, it was kind of early in my trip to Europe. So my sleep schedule was not adjusted, so I'd wake up randomly at like 2, 3 a.m. So I would wake up just in time to see the ends of these games in the Cayman Islands, and it was awesome because I watched them blow out Old Dominion by 30. I watched them go to overtime in the semifinals. I watched them hit the game winner in the finals, but then they lost to Dartmouth. They gave up 88 points to Dartmouth. So
Dartmouth.
Tough. I mean, if you just, I mean, the other two games aren't great, but if that Dartmouth game is just a win and they're 7-1, and then they drop games to South Carolina and Wake, it doesn't look that bad. They're 7-3 and probably where they should be, but that Dartmouth game is just such a stain on what probably was never going to be much of a season, but just like it's just I don't know. I've always believed, and I still believe that Earl's safe through the season, at least in terms of his job.
I think so
but
too.
he's like basically no matter what happens. But I mean, that Dartmouth game is, he's making it tougher on himself than it really has to be.
Yep.
And then the South Carolina game, they never had a chance in that. The Wake game, I thought they actually played very well. I thought it was probably one of their better performances of the year. They went up early. They're up 15-5, I think, and then Wake came back in the game. And kind of when Wake kind of retook the lead, you kind of thought, now they're going to run away with it. But the BC hung tough to the end. Just kind of they couldn't stop. They just couldn't stop fouling at the end, and just kind of a tough watch. But I don't know. You got a stretch of Stonehill, SMU, and then FDU and Miami. So some winnable games there. Obviously, Stonehill and FDU, you got to win. And then SMU and Miami, both. Neither of those two are particularly good. I think SMU's mid-50s, Miami's in 100-plus territory in Ken Palm. So the thing that might help the Eagles out is the bottom and middle-ish of the ACC isn't that strong, at least early on this year. So they're going to have their chances in a lot of these games, I think. But I mean, they keep closing them out like they did against Wake. They're just not gonna. They're not gonna win many of these games, and I'm not gonna be running many miles for the rest of the season. So
no, I think you're safe on that one.
I should give them an incentive to like if they win, I run these miles, and if they lose, I drink however many beers for that loss or donuts or something. Like I gotta give these guys more incentive.
A lot of beers to the end of the year.
Yeah,
I do like how you changed it too, because last year the miles were ACC win miles.
I know. And I didn't think you were gonna catch on to that, but
he just wins in general.
Yeah, I mean, last year they won 21 games last year. I would have been running 21 miles.
That would have been a lot.
The ACC tournament, I would have been running 16, 17, 18 miles. But
a night,
whatever it was. But
yeah,
I know. I'd love to run a half marathon at some point this winter, but we'll see if that happens.
You think they'll get to? Do you think they'll get to around 13 wins, Jack? Or
I mean, like the rest of their out of conference slate, they got Stonehill, Florida, and FDU, Fairleigh Dickinson, who should
3 wins.
I'll say that should be wins, and then like I said, the bottom third of the ACC isn't particularly strong. I don't think so. I think 5 to 6 ACC wins is certainly in the cards, but I think they're probably closer to 2 wins than 6 wins at this point, which is I don't know, is not even worth talking about really. But
I know
at that point, but I know it's tough. It's tough after what was a good year last year, and But I don't know. There's something needs to change with the program, whether it's funding NIL, whether it's staff. I mean, we just saw the number one player in the country who came from Brockton, Massachusetts, sign with BYU, and not that
$7 million.
Yeah, well, you guys were talking earlier. So
it's crazy.
BC wasn't not that they would have had a chance for this particular year, but they're not even in the mix. I mean, something's got to change, but we'll keep chugging along. We'll keep following. So
all I got is that, hey, we won a tournament this year. They can't take that away from us.
Yeah, they got a trophy.
And
the first trophy in a few years.
And then I honestly felt pretty positive when I was watching the Wake game. Again, I don't know anything about Wake Forest. I just know that that's an ACC game. So I was like,
no, yeah. Hey, well,
they performing pretty well. But then you feel like, again, you're just trying to find ways to make this a potential season where you could watch the games and feel happy about it. Like the Dartmouth loss, you're thinking to yourself, maybe it's because they just were from the Cayman Islands and maybe they're tired and all that, but like still there's no excuse there. You can't lose.
No, totally. I mean the Dartmouth loss is the day after Thanksgiving at noon. Like no wonder. Like it's not a surprise they came out sluggish, but I mean there's really you can't use that as an excuse to lose to
Wake like solid or like a low tier team like Jack.
They're probably well I don't have the rankings in front of me, but I would say they're probably out of the 18 teams that put them around 9-10. I don't know.
Gotcha.
I think they might be on the bubble this year. We'll see. Steve Forbes is a very good coach. I think he'll do.
Yeah.
He tends to get a lot of his transfer portal players, so I think they brought in some guys. They always seem to be in the mix, at least the past 4 years. And it's weird that Earl is always has his guys playing well against Wake, even since his first year. So hopefully this wasn't just one of those fluky games against Wake, but was real.
I love Cam Hildreth too. He's like one of my favorite players in the ACC for some reason.
Were you at the press conference last year when he spoke?
Yep.
I had no idea he was British until until that moment. But
I think that's why I like him so much.
Yeah, I mean, I would love him if he was an Eagle. He was just so frustrating. I feel like the last 10 possessions of that Wake game,
player.
He'd be dribble, and then we'd take a dumb reach foul and get 2 free throws. Like
I'm looking at it now. He had 18 foul free throw attempts.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't stop fouling him, so they kept going to it, and they kept getting 2 free throws. So it was a frustrating watch down the stretch because they were always within 2-4 points, and they just could never. They could not foul. Like it's tough. It's really tough.
I think that's going to be the story of this team all year. I think that they will have. I think they will have a lot of games that they're competitively in, that they're close, but they're just not going to be able to close out. Or
it's gonna be like the I think I've talked about this before, but the NFL standings, where if you flip the 1 possession games, like what it looks like, how the Chiefs they're 11-1 right now, but they would be 2-10. It's gonna. Yeah. I could foresee it being kind of like that, but I mean, not much else to say other than it's tough.
Is it a team that you think
right now,
Jackie? Is it a team you think like has the potential to pull off like a top 25 upset, or is it not?
I mean,
for them. I don't know how many
crazier things have happened. I mean, 2 years ago they had 3 top 25 wins, but that was with a not much better team than this one. So I mean, it could happen. I mean, that Duke game is gonna be tough to be in the building as a BC fan for sure. The way they're probably gonna blow us out, and the way that the fans are gonna pack it. But I know I don't want to. I'm struggling to find positive things to say about the season right now.
There's not a lot.
They got a trophy. They got their trophy, but
right. That's what.
Yeah, I mean, there's another team that plays in Conti Forum that I think I wish I could speak more intelligently about, and that's the hockey team.
We need to get Anthony on this podcast.
I keep saying it, and I watched from afar. I watched them beat Providence in overtime on kind of was a bullshit game. They beat UMass Lowell, top 10 matchup, but they had that slip up against UConn, but now they're back rolling. They're number 2 in the rankings. Probably should be number 1. I think they're number 1 in RPI. Yeah, I think they're going to be right on par, if not better than they were last season. So, got to give them some love too.
Super fun.
Ryan Letter's incredible. That's
Totally.
just it starts and ends with that, man.
Mm-hmm.
Super resilient team too. I feel like every time I turn them on, it's like, yeah, I'll even get the tweets from Eagles Daily, and I'll be like down 2-1, and then the second later it's like tied up, and then they end up winning. It's just like, I don't know, super fun team to watch. I watched the I think it was the main game and how intense that was on Ness, and just like incredible team. So yeah, if we can get Anthony on to talk about a lot of these players, because these players deserve some recognition for what they're pulling off. It seems to be a legit top, 2 or best team in the country, and it'll be great to see what they can pull off at the end of the year.
The thing is, if you watch their goals, if you watch Ryan Leonard and Gabe Perreault's goals, and just how freaking pretty they are with their touch passes, and it's just
so much skill.
It's unbelievable how pretty it is watching them, and you can see that like neither one of those two belong in college hockey anymore. Which is a very good problem.
No, I mean, it's what you saw with Cutter Gauthier last year as a sophomore.
Yeah,
it's that kind of deal, Yeah. And I think James Hagen's had he's a freshman. He had a bit of a sluggish start to the year, but he had a nasty goal against Lowell. But yeah, I mean, it's a great product, and it's it's a bummer. I've been to however many basketball games I've been to. I haven't been to a hockey game yet. So
never.
Yeah. No, I mean this year. I haven't been this season.
Okay.
I went to Denver last year, a few others, but gotta get back in the barn for that. So
I was at the Denver game last year too. That was a great game.
Talking about the fan experience, guys. Do you know how they put the fans up in the upper deck part of Conti besides
students?
What's your guys' take on that? Obviously, I understand they have to sell those premium seats to like paying fans, but honestly, like, do you think that it takes away? Because like if you have like, even if it's like a half of the rink just fully fans on the ice, man, I mean, I can't imagine like that being such an advantage, whether that's on offense or defense.
It is. I mean, yeah, absolutely, but I think just the
logistic wise,
they can't, because those are the season tickets. I get it, and I think that it's like one of those things where of course it would be phenomenal. It's just it's too bad, but luckily. But that's the thing too, is like they used to have them. It was strictly behind the nets. There was never an overflow of students, especially not to take up the entire upper deck. It's just so impressive to see, and that's a testament to the student support, and how when you do have good teams, the school will rally behind you. So
yeah, it is tough. I mean, it's a purely administrative thing as to how they want to handle their season ticket holders. I mean, I have no solution to offer, but I mean, it's still for the big games that they do sell out the student section. It is. I mean, it's always electric. I don't feel like it takes away too much from the viewing experience.
I don't think there's really much.
Certainly not the Conti morgue that Brett and I are familiar with. So
it's just a cool thing. I'm just thinking like maybe if they had like one game a season where like they play BU and they just like are like, we're packing this with students just to like get that, for the atmosphere. But there's really nothing they can do.
Or if they just had like a minimum game requirement to retain your season tickets or something. I really don't know. But
right. Yeah.
That's
tough basketball right now.
I know. Hockey, they're back on track after just looking at the UConn. I'm trying to think when that Providence game was when they won in overtime. I think it was pretty shortly after. It was pretty sick. They got totally bailed out by the refs. It was awesome. But we're not used to that as a BC fan, but
yeah, it's good to be on the other side of that for sure.
I know, yeah. I mean, Providence got totally screwed. And if what happened to them happened to us, I would have been up in arms about it. But it's nice to be on the other side of that the Duke type basketball whistle. But
yeah.
Jack, is your brother still at Providence?
Yeah, so my brother's a junior. He's actually abroad in Rome right now. That's why we went to Italy. We were visiting him. But but then my sister's a freshman, so we got two at Providence. So I'll definitely be down there for a few basketball games because they do have good basketball.
Very good basketball.
Good basketball there. But yeah, no. So football's doing good, hockey's doing good, basketball not so much. But yeah, glad hockey's back on track for sure.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts while we wrap up here?
I don't think so. We don't want to predict the bowl game yet, do we? Just save that for next week.
Yeah, looking forward to previewing that next week. But
yeah, I think that's the best course of.
We can really dive into Nebraska, but I will say Nebraska. You feel good about this, and Nebraska definitely has like a lot of potential players to be sitting out of this game. I even asked.
Yeah, you asked about Raiola, and they got.
Yeah, I even asked about their quarterback today. I don't think he really appreciated that question too much, but it had to be asked. But he.
Yeah, and also, what's with that Nebraska guy getting all pissy about it afterwards?
I didn't really understand that. I was just like, I mean, everyone.
Well,
everyone's waiting for that question, so I was like, I guess I'll do it. I was like 10 questions in, so.
Did the Midwest guys they throw them all like softballs all day? Like they don't use.
They're trying to say like, oh, the quarterback already put out, social media posts. Like you shouldn't have to ask that question. I'm like, social media posts, like.
Yeah, but he's still in the portal, right?
The world right now of NIL and transfer portals, like social media posts don't mean anything. Like the kid says I'm going to stay, and then the next day he's gone, right? So it's like. The question had to be asked, but he obviously said, "Oh, I don't really play in rumors," and he was practicing today, and that's the only question I have. But when you're looking at the people that did answer the transfer portal from Nebraska, there's a lot of players there, and really
some D linemen.
Yeah, exactly, and I think a running back or two. So you're looking at that, and then for BC, you're just. You expect Donovan not to play because you just want him to stay healthy for the NFL, and he deserves that. But on the BC side, you don't have that many people that are starters or any that are starters entering the transfer portal, so you're feeling super positive going to that game. So yeah, we'll dive deeper into that next week. But you're looking at that bowl announcement. You're excited about the location. You're excited for fans, and then. You're looking at that potential 8 wins, and like I've been saying, that's freaking massive for this program.
8 wins. Who would have thought? The awesome.
Not us.
You guys thought. I didn't think you guys thought. So.
I forget what was yours 10-2, Brett?
No, it was like.
You say 84?
No, I think it was 8-4.
Mac, I think
9,
you won.
No. I think I was like 9-3 or something. I forget. It was bad.
I forget too.
No, I wasn't close.
I have to look that up.
Jack you were the closest. I wasn't close. I was.
Yeah, someone should tell Will Blackman that I was the closest. But
he'll kill.
We're definitely gonna get Will Blackman on here in the offseason. We gotta pull that off.
He'll do it. He did say on the field one time that he'd come on.
He seems pretty active. So
yeah, he's hanging out with
socially. So
what's his face on his podcast and everything. So
he's such a nice guy.
Dude, all the coaches are super nice. It's been great to kind of get to know them.
It has been. Episode 16.
16.
Yep. Man, we're into this thing.
In the books. In the books. So we got so we'll do preview and predictions next week, and then we'll be in New York before you know it. So
yeah,
cool.
It's time, and then we're in New York City.
Make sure you follow all the socials, Eagles Daily BC Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And follow the podcast account too, Eagles Weekly BC. Give us a follow. We'll follow back. Maybe. We don't check it too much, but we'll follow back.
Yeah, I'll try to follow people back. Yeah.
Yeah, that's all I got. So with that, go Eagles.
Go Eagles.
Go Eagles.